Welcome back to the Shogun Social Podcast. As always, we normally go through the tips, tricks, trends, and creator highlights each week. But this week, we've got a special guest. So, as always, I'm Freddie.
I'm Lev.
We've got a special guest.
I'm Jed.
Got Jed. He's joined in for episode 13. Thank you for coming down.
No, you're welcome.
I'm going to get straight into it, right? So, I know you, but can you give our audience an insight into what you do and how social media has helped you in your job?
Okay, so basically I work freelance for different companies around the UK as a lighting specialist. So I work on music videos, corporate videos, short films, longer form stuff. Basically I have the services to be able to turn up with my lighting equipment, light their whole shoot, and then that goes out obviously on whatever platform that they desire it to go out on.
Brilliant.
Awesome. So how do you decide what to share on your social media, and have you seen any changes since kind of showing more of the famous faces that you've worked with recently?
I'd say that, to be honest, the more famous faces that I do show, a lot more engagement that I do get, to be real.
Sure.
It's quite weird because I thought that it would be more the music videos that I was sharing would get the most of the hits, of the likes and the views and stuff. For some reason, me being on the picture with them or me being involved in the post in some way always seems to target the most audience and always gets the most likes, which is very, very strange.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe it's because it's more personable.
Yeah, it could be.
You know?
I like to think that a lot of friends and family and that follow me and obviously try and engage as much as possible.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is. It might be because obviously we're in Southampton at the moment. A lot of stuff like that doesn't really go on in Southampton. So if you see that on your news feed, obviously that's sort of you're tying a face that you've seen around town to someone that you would never really expect.
That's what I thought. I thought, bloody hell, Jed's with Headie one. When you think about him, he's massive.
Yeah.
And like you say, Southampton, not much happens around here. So when I was looking at your feed, I thought, okay, I know you go all over as well, but it's impressive. It's good.
I think it's nice. Obviously, in Southampton, everyone speaks about it. I get to speak about it a lot with friends. But as soon as you hit London, it's sort of all of a sudden you're a small fish in a big pond again. Because there's so much that happens. You'll be walking down the street and you'll just bump into whoever all the time, or you'll just meet people through social instances, and it's just quite crazy how many famous people there are. It's in London, just all pushed into one place.
That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've seen as well, you spoke about that community, and do you use your socials for that? Because I've seen a lot of you post a photo and everyone's in the comments going, and they're different aspects of what you do.
Yeah, sure. In terms of a community, I'd say that filmmakers in general have a really strong community on Instagram. Obviously, you have community with your friends and family that follow you and whatnot, but the bulk of the jobs that I'll get through will be from business to business situations where people will see you with these famous faces, or they'll see your portfolio, essentially what your Instagram is nowadays, and that will be what ties you in to meet more people and gain all these extra leads. It's sort of like being at a massive party with people who all do the same kind of thing as you, who are always seeing what you're doing all the time and can just call on you in the future. On a team, you'll have, in real life, obviously, you'll have your director, your cameraman, your assistant cameraman, all of the extra people that you have. And all of them have the extra opportunity after you work with them the first time to call you back for another job.
Yeah.
So that is essentially completely boosted throughout the social network, and everyone can see what's going on all the time.
Yeah, I love that. And in my experience, it's been exactly the same. I love that. But I think people need to realise that Instagram is very much like a virtual portfolio.
Yeah.
So I think it's exciting that you're mentioning that, because it's share pictures of your food, but actually utilise it and create your dream career.
I found it really interesting actually, because like you say, it is just a virtual portfolio. I spoke to someone about a job the other day. It was another lighting person that I really want to work with. So I sent him a message and just said, is there anything that I can get involved with? And he said, send me your CV. And I thought that was so alien to me. I was like, I haven't made a CV in 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand what I'd even be able to put on there in the first place. You want to see what I'm doing rather than just me to tell you, because I can just make it up.
That's so interesting, because I literally thought that it would be a good LinkedIn post to write. So one of us is going to have to get there first.
Yeah.
But I really think CVs are a massively outdated thing. And I think especially in the industry that you're in, it is all about the visuals.
It's about the visuals, and people can look on your profile. They can see the network that you have. They can see who else you mingle with. They can even see what you're doing day-to-day basis. I mean, you can tell someone's professionality just by looking at their Instagram stories.
Yeah, 100%. So sticking with the Instagram theme, who would you say is the most famous person that's slid into the DMs?
I wouldn't say necessarily I have that many people slide into mine personally, because where I deal with obviously other companies, other directors and things like that, I wouldn't necessarily be the first port of contact for them. But I have spoke to people after shoots. I mean, I've spoke to Bad Boy Chilico a few times, Brucey I've spoke to a couple of times, Antigone, who's on Love Island, she's a really nice girl, and I've spoke to her after we made the product. And yeah, to be fair, a lot of these people, when you reach these sort of like higher brackets of fame, people are usually quite sound. Like if they've worked with you and they see your name pop up, they will speak to you on Instagram.
I saw ages ago that you were at Bad Boy Chilico video, and they put, I think it was a photo they put up, and they were just hugging you. But when you think, you know, go on Spotify and you think, oh, they're massive brands, like Jed's just having a cuddle with them.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to forget. I mean, in terms of their fame, they became famous over maybe the past 3 or 4 years, depending on how far you follow them for. But to be major, they've only been 3 or 4 years. So they're still dealing with the fact that they've only really probably become famous in a shorter time than what they realise. Right. So for them, everyone's just still a human. Like, I don't think until you've been in the game for 10, 20 years, you probably don't start to feel that sort of like, oh, I'm better than everyone sort of thing. Still very human.
Have you ever found that, as an additional question, have you ever gone on set and you've had almost like a diva?
Yeah, I won't name names, but you do really get divas. Like, you get people who kick up a fuss about a hell of a lot of stuff, and luckily I'm in the position where I can just hide behind a light and I don't have to deal with it.
It's a good position.
I mean, some of the people that I work with, you'll see it firsthand. The producers, the directors deal with the brunt of people being divas. They want things, they want it now, they want it done in a certain way, they want you to cut their food up for them and things like that. Like, it gets pretty intense. But me personally, I can't entertain that. I've got other stuff to do. I've got cables to run.
Wow, that is. I was thinking that when I was looking at your portfolio. Also, I just want to loop back to the CVs where I totally agree. Why would what are you going to put, like lighting operator? And why would you? That's like alien to me. Why you would do that? Even like us working social media. We have interviews and we're like, can you bring a portfolio? We've got someone coming in later, and it's like. Strange, really strange. You can't
confine yourself in this industry to a box and just like a sentence. Like what you're doing, it's literally seen in like videos and pictures. Like you can't put that on a CV.
I've never really understood because a CV is sort of just a template, and everyone says the same thing on the template. You're a hard-working individual. You gel as well with other people who can work when in a team or as an individual, right? And it just doesn't translate into if I was a manager trying to hire someone, I wouldn't look at a CV anyway. Like, trial shifts are probably a better way to do it. And Instagram is probably the best way to have a trial shift. You can see it firsthand before they even come into your building.
Do you ever do stuff like trial shifts?
Yeah, we have trainees. So it's quite weird way people get into the industry. There's so many different routes that you can go down, but a really common one if you want to go into like long form or TV work and things like that is that you'll be a trainee, whether it be on camera department, lighting department. You can have like production assistants who are essentially like runners for the job, who deal with the production side of things. So that's a way to get into it and build your reputation throughout the network without having to go through other avenues first.
Other avenues. And then I'm gonna place an idea, right? One thing when we were looking through is we would love to see you do a TikTok as like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
First of all, I don't know how feasible that would be, because I can imagine it's like chaos, right? But I would love to see like behind the scenes on a Headie 1 shoot. I just think that would get so much engagement.
Massive.
So funny you should say that. We do actually have that stuff go on, but not from my side. Like, the production company who run it, they have Double or Nothing Productions, who do with all the Headie stuff that I've been doing recently. One of their team, Charlie, he actually does all the TikToks. So they've blown massively on TikTok as well. Like, I can't even understand the amount of views that they've got so quickly just off the back of doing it. People find it really, really interesting. You're right. I think that in terms of business to client or business to like a following, TikTok's so spot on. Personally, I just really don't have the time to be taking videos. When you're in the moment, I always forget to get my phone out of my pocket and things like that. And there's a lot that goes into editing, as you guys know, obviously, as well.
Yeah, I think it's because you have such an unusual, career.
Yeah.
That people, it's like what you were saying about your Instagram, people are engaging because it's interesting and they don't have to be necessarily in the industry to want to like connect or see a part of that. So you know, that leads me on to my next question, talking about like your behind the scenes, your diagrams.
Yeah.
That's an amazing way of like showing people what you do. But do you think that's going to be something that you continue to do?
I definitely will continue. Yeah, I really like doing them because I can sit down after I've come back from a shoot. I can look at the stills just because obviously I have to do it after the video drops because otherwise it ruins the video. But I look at after the fact. Sit down. I can spend my time creating the diagram or from memory or from the pictures that I've taken. And I just find it a really nice way to give back into community for people who are in a position where they've only just started out, sort of thing, and they can look at it and understand it. It's not such a daunting task. And lighting's one of them things. I'm sure you guys know, like from a camera background or whatever, that it's genuinely quite hard to think about how to do things first off. I just like being able to tell people, like, you can just do it this way. It's not that hard. This is a technique to take. So yeah, I definitely would carry on doing that. I've enjoyed that.
Awesome.
We were looking at it and I thought, some of them I've watched, I think there was, I can't remember what it was, Down Your Feet, and it was like a nightclub, stuff was going off, and I thought, I wouldn't even have the first idea where to start with that. Yeah. And it's all popular. But no, it's really, really good. I found it really interesting. I was like, okay, you do that. But how long does that take to do the diagrams? Is that
before you do the shoot?
Yeah, and
it depends quite a lot on the setup. So I'll have to have a chat with the director of photography. So you've got the director of photography, who's basically in charge of the image in terms of camera work, lighting, all these kind of things. And then there's me, the gaffer. More than likely I'll be the gaffer or spark on big stuff. And I'll work directly with the DP and just find out what is actually going to work for the look. There's no point you going and putting up 100 lights in a room where you want it to be really dark and a little bit moody. So yeah, we'll probably spend a good hour or so, or like through WhatsApp, we'll just go message back on each other, and we'll just find out what's going to be best for the look. And it doesn't take that long sometimes, because a lot of the times we're doing repetitive themes. I hate to say it, but like obviously depending on the type of video that it is, you'll have the same sort of ideas and the same sort of look that you know what you're going for already. So yeah, it can be fast, but when you go and do a massive setup, you need to have quite a lot in the way in terms of like your power distribution and how you're going to run it all wirelessly and things like that. So that would take more consideration.
It's so interesting. You just wouldn't know that, would you?
No.
Unless we're like, obviously while we're doing this interview. But so you've obviously done music videos for some of the biggest names in rap, like Headline 1, Digga D. Like, who would you say the music video has been the craziest to be a part of, or like the most fun, most memorable?
So the recent Headie 1 was pretty crazy, but that's just because I genuinely think that the whole of Broadwater Farm was on the estate that day, out on the roads. Like, it was completely full. Like it was the busiest I've ever seen a street. Bad Boy Chiller Crews notoriously have pretty wild shoots. We went out to, where did we go? We went to like near Cornwall Way for a shoot, and the premise for it was basically they met up with some hillbillies. And we're there, and they want to do like axe throwing, they want to do like dirt bike jumps and stuff. It was a health and safety nightmare.
Oh my God, I bet.
Liam, the director, obviously had so much to deal with that day. Yeah, it's a big Sony shoot. There's a lot at stake. Yeah. And if these guys go down, I mean, like they'll be out of action for a little while. So they want to do all their own stunts anyway, so they got away with it. Only maybe a couple of injuries, but yeah, that was pretty mad. And then we had like a party scene in the evening, so. Can imagine all of these people from Bradford, all these people from Cornwall just mashing at this big mansion party situation.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It feels good to be there at the party, enjoying it, and man.
Yeah, and that's your work.
That's my work,
yeah. I remember you put a story up a little while ago. It was like that Headie 1, and there were like flares going on. Everyone was in red and it was going down, and I thought, like to work in that, it's like making me sweat. Just think about it. Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh my God.
There's a lot to do, and there's a lot to take into consideration as well. I mean, we were in a unit moving back from the whole like sort of estate moving towards us. There's flares going off. We've got 3 or 4 supercars just literally lingering behind them. So they're driving, people walking around them and everything. Luckily, the neighbours around there aren't too nosy, because we would have. I mean, the police turned up twice, so we managed to get away with it. So
that's another thing I was going to say is, do you ever have those scenarios where the police or the public get involved and all that?
No, curtain twitchers are literally our worst enemy. Like, you can't do anything without someone wanting to stick their 2 pence in. In terms of the police do genuinely turn up to shoots. We had an incident once where we were shooting in like central London, I can't remember the area. We were just doing like a street scene, and we had like a CCTV shot. So we mounted a camera up really high, and then the guy was on the ground like swinging a baseball bat outside the corner shop. Police turned up and pretty much nicked him, because it looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, we tried to, obviously we blagged them. We said like, well, look, we've got a whole car
Crew,
worth of camera crew, we've got a crew here and everything, but they won't have anything. So.
Oh God.
No doing that on your weekend.
Yeah, so, do you think that's the craziest situation you've been in? Either that or the Bad Boy Chiller Crew? Or has there been another one?
I've been in crazier, but I won't talk about it.
Oh, love that.
What stays on set?
I've been in a couple of very crazy situations. Probably, I'll tell you off mic though, because they're probably not really fit for.
That's good. Can't wait.
No comment.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
One I really liked, you did one for J1, like his new one. But how was that to like it was even a warehouse, I think, and it was spinning round.
Mm-hmm.
How was that? I mean, the lights were coming down, I think, from the warehouse ceiling, but that seems like a hard one.
That was dizzy. That was really dizzy. So me and Mike, the DP for that shot, is it where he's like on the top floor, you've got the roof above, and he's turning around in a circle. So Mike, the cameraman, had a movie, which is essentially a stabilizer. Big like arms come out over the top to help him because it's really, really heavy. So we basically had to run in circles. There was no other way to do it. And the only way that I could light it is if I travelled with Mike. So I had a light on the end of a pole, just over the top of him, just to bring him up in kind of like in level. And yeah, we did that for about 4 takes. Both were absolutely killed after it, but sometimes it's the only way to get a shot.
So going back to like our earlier question in regards to you prepping for a shoot, there are going to be things that you can't prep for in the moment. You're just going to have to, see what the right thing is to do.
You have to roll with the punches. That's it, really. There's times that your day will drag on for ages. There's times that you'll be sort of out in the field, 14, 15 hours deep, you're exhausted, you've been carrying stuff all day. You just got to be ready to gain some energy from somewhere, which is usually coffee. And then you just got to carry on with it. You'll get as much done in prep as you can. And to be honest, a lot of directors that I work with are so creative and can pitch all these amazing ideas. The DPs adapt them really well into how it's going to work logistically and in terms of coming across on camera. And then the lighting team, obviously, we've just got to follow suit. We've just got to go and we've got to have the physical capability to just make it happen. By all means necessary.
Do you think that social media, do you think that you would get the same jobs that you would without social? Because obviously you've got that community part, everyone, you've got a group of hub people that know you. Do you think if you were coming into the game now, you'd say to a junior, get on social, start posting your stuff?
I would say get on socials and start posting. You're only going to get called on by a network if you've proven yourself 100%. For a prolonged period of time. Like you need to be on at least 2-3 shoots with someone before you can almost rely on them for a callback, I'd say. Luckily, I get called back quite often. So after the first time, if I could call back a second time, great. If I get called back a third time, I know I've pretty much solidified that connection. People who are going into it who haven't got that, the only thing that they can really do is just push really hard. What I've done before is go onto Instagram, look at other people in my position, go on the people that they follow and follow them, and just follow all of them.
I totally did that.
And just
I
like
literally
network.
did that. So I just very quickly, I built up a community of 10K writing a blog about filmmaking, and I managed to like connect with people only through Instagram from like Marvel and Disney and like other places, and like exactly that is it. So I do have another question that's not on our little list, but I'm getting hyped talking to you. What would be your like top 3 pieces of advice for people who want to do what you do right now? Like, what are the 3 things that you would say, if I knew this when I was starting my journey, these are the things I'm focusing on? And obviously, like, social media being one of those things, I would assume.
Number 1, don't be a dick. Honestly,
like
just
that.
don't be a dick. Like, I was saying this on shoot, we were having a big conversation about this the other day, what advice would we give to people? Some people just genuinely can't grasp the concept of when you're there in a stressful environment with 10, 15 other people, that your career may be on the line in that room with them. Just don't be a dick. All you've got to do is be as friendly as possible, be as open as possible, and you've just got to try and make yourself the most approachable as you can.
Yeah.
That'd be number 1. Number 2 would be analyse financially how feasible it is to go down the route that you're going to go down. Because there's no good going down a route where you're going to be getting hardly any returns on your investment. It's a business at the end of the day. If you can't manage to gain the clients that you need to be able to generate the income you need to progress, then there's no point doing it in the first place. And my third point would be decide the route that you want to go down really strongly first, because a lot of people don't understand that getting into the filmmaking process is that there are a million different jobs out there, especially when you go into a set kind of environment where you've got all these different roles. people often just pick up a camera and just go into videography straight away. That's what I did. I went into videography straight away for the first 4 or 5 years of my journey. A lot of people, they live in London. It's easier for them to get into the film industry as a whole. But yeah, I think that it's important for people to understand that there's a million different jobs they can take. It might not even be being behind the camera. I mean, it may be from a producing role, maybe from a different role on set.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we use it here. We have a thing called a no dickhead policy, which is basically like we hire people where it's just like, the same thing where when you're in that stressful environment, just like, you just be normal.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Be normal.
Yeah.
Everyone's stressed. I mean, me and the DP that I work with the most, we argue all the time. Like, we literally at each other's necks constantly. But at the end of the day, we speak about it, we see what went wrong, and don't let it like linger. Because if you need to build working relationships with people, you can't consistently be stressed out with them.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, even just from doing the job well in that perspective, like, you're all aiming for the same end result. You all want to be there for the right reasons. So
Exactly.
You know, if there's, I don't know, kind of tension or anything that's not melding, like, you should all be thinking, like, how can we approach this to just fix it?
Team effort.
Get on the same, get back on track.
Third last question. This is a big one. Obviously, you've worked with some big names. If you could work with one brand or rapper or an artist or whatever, who would it be? Who's like the top of your wish list?
Let me check my page.
I know we've gone way off script,
Yeah,
haven't
no,
we? I've
it's
had
cool.
so much fun, though.
It's cool. It's good.
Right, so in terms of a musician, so Headie one is actually my favourite artist, so that was great to work with him. However, Nux is my second favourite, and I haven't worked with Nux yet. So if I got a Nux video, genuinely would do it for free. I'm not even joking. I'd put all my effort into it, and I'd do it for free just because I want to work with the guy that much.
Are you listening?
Yeah. Nux, are you listening?
We'll tag you when this goes live.
Nux is A&R, you better be listening. And then after that, I mean, to be honest, I haven't really thought about who I'd want to work with on sort of like a major scale film properly. Always loved Guy Ritchie films, so it'd be great to work on a set with Guy Ritchie. And Christopher Nolan, just because he does loads of practical effects, and I would absolutely love to be there when he does. Yeah.
Amazing.
Flipping a truck in the middle of
can you
New
imagine
York.
like Inception or something? You're just like hanging on a harness, like flinging around, like.
It'd be so much fun. So,
it'd be amazing.
Yeah, them guys I'd love to work with, and then through Instagram I've seen so many great DPs over the past while, so I'm really open to working with other companies, DPs, and things like that.
Awesome. Very
Nice. And then away from work, who's your go-to creator? So like, who do you go on like Instagram? You're like, oh, I love them, love them.
Don't know, because I wouldn't necessarily say that I look at anything outside my job now. My life's become so sort of surrounded by the industry and people within it that nowadays I don't really see anything outside of that field. I mean, it's grown so much as well, like the video production in general. Everything's video production nowadays.
Yeah.
You've got Reels, you've got TikToks, you've got your Instagrams, Facebook's got Reels now. Everything has got a Reel. And that's all video. So now I just don't really, my head doesn't escape the video field.
Yeah.
So a couple of people that I'd want to work with director-wise would be Casey Locke and Troy Roscoe, I think. Casey Locke does H's videos, and they're insane, absolutely insane. So,
Awesome. This has been so fun. Okay, well, I'm going to go for my final question.
Yeah.
So we ask all of our guests here on the podcast if they have any recommendations for our next guest. So is there anybody that comes to mind that you think would be a really good
Headie
really
one.
good
He's
fit
going to
for
say
us?
Headie one.
If you can get Headie in for a podcast, he's honestly, he would be great. But so in Southampton, one of the directors that I've worked with since the beginning of my career is Liam Gibson, who runs LG Vision. So he's a genius with social media. He loves it. He gets himself really involved. And he thinks about it a lot. He's quite deep thinking. He's a smart guy. So if you wanted to ask him some
sounds amazing.
quite full-on questions about social media, how sort of people do the best on it and how people deal with it, I think he'd be the guy to go to.
Fantastic.
Love it. I think that's all our questions
Sweet.
for episode 13.
Yeah.
If you liked it, as always, drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.